she's a very, very confident, trash-talking basketball player. She tells you what she's going to do, and she has this thing where she does the John Cena, no, you can't see me thing, and she does a few things that, that obviously if you were playing against her, might rub you the wrong way. And welcome to this edition of the 941 Sports Zone, powered and brought to you by Vibrant Aspect Media. I am John Mussone here with my co-host over at the other side there, John Peacock. And we are broadcasting live from the home of 941 Sports Zone, Douglas Jeep, located on US 41 in beautiful downtown South Venice. On tonight's edition, we're going to have a very special guest starting off with us tonight, Mr. Monte Jacobs, here with Douglas Jeep, who are going to be hosting us for the entirety of hopefully of our 941 Sports Zone. And with our first edition of the show, we figured we'd have you on to kind of give us a little insight onto what you guys are looking to do here. You got some exciting things coming up later on the year. What exactly are you guys looking forward to here at Douglas Jeep?
So we have a lot of stuff going on now, John, and it's just want to say thanks for picking us and allowing us to be a business partner with this great show. I can't wait to see what's going to happen here, but we do have a lot of things happening. We have a new location that's opening July 1st, just down the street, down 41 here in Venice. It's going to be the Mega Center. It'll be a used car super center.
Okay.
So you'll have interior showroom out of the rain and the weather that holds 80 cars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something. Yeah, no doubt.
A-seed?
A-seed, yes, sir.
Wow.
And there'll also be outside. There'll be another 200 vehicles outside. So
the expansion. I've never really heard of an 80-car interior showroom unless it's someplace that
I've never
big
seen
things
one.
happen. Yeah,
never seen one. There'll also be a giant video wall inside, so they'll show what we're doing in the community, stuff that's going on. I'm so excited and looking forward to it.
Well, Monte, we know that you guys here at Douglas Jeep are very heavily involved in sports and helping out, doing different stuff around the area, and also you also do some other things in the community. Where did you get your start with your love of sports?
Boy, as a little boy. Of course, growing up in Northwest Indiana, baseball and basketball were the things. I played football, but I grew up loving baseball and basketball. The Indiana Hoosiers and Coach Knight era, that was me. I was that kid sitting by the TV that one time a week that you could watch a game on the 3 channels that you had back then. That was my thing. Well,
like I said, your enthusiasm definitely comes through, and it's definitely something that we noticed with Douglas Jeep, and why we wanted to partner with you guys to do this. As far as, again, the new dealership, everything's going to happen. Anything else currently, like for this right now, what's happened at Douglas Jeep, maybe the public needs to know about?
Well, right now it's model year closeout, so there's still some pretty good deals on Ram trucks. Inventory issues existed for quite some time, and everybody fought to get cars, and it may have priced them out of the market for some people, but that time's over.
Gotcha.
And there are deals to be had on pickup trucks and SUVs. We have really good inventory. I have 248 new cars in stock right now, so selection isn't an issue. I know interest rates have gone up considerably in the last few months, but the manufacturer's done a really good job of offering incentivized rates, so we still have programs in place to make things affordable for people. So we really look forward to anybody coming out. Here's the show or hasn't ever been here, just stop by and check it out and see what we're all about.
Awesome. And you get to come by and you can meet the shark when he's out of the water.
Absolutely, yeah. Vinny D, the land shark, he's around.
Yeah, and if you need, for the new opening of your new place, if you need another shark, I'm not a real good salesman, but I think I can be another shark. Need someone else.
Absolutely, I think that's a date.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah.
So we have.
I like to be the indoor shark, by the way.
Indoor,
yeah,
of course.
It's pretty hot.
Indoor, just kind of swimming like in an aquarium, as opposed to being outside.
Yes.
He's a little more advanced. He can be the outdoor shark.
Okay, perfect.
He's used to it.
Yeah.
Well, Monte, as the years and the editions go by, we want to have you more to talk about sports. Obviously, you being a big sports fan.
Okay.
So obviously, we're going to be here. Hopefully weekly, and hopefully we can get you on here when we ever think you might pull your knowledge into on some of the subject matter we're talking about.
Can't wait. You can count on it.
Appreciate you coming by. Appreciate all your hospitality as well.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
That was Monte Jacobs, Douglas Jeep. Come on down here and visit these guys. They do a great job down here, and get yourself a newer used car here at Douglas Jeep. With that, John, there you are over there. Something we've done before in regards to having a podcast and radio shows and whatnot, but stepping out of into a little bit wider arena in regards to what we're going to be talking about. And any ideas what you want to pass along to some folks, what to expect?
It's going to be a little different. It's not. This is not going to be associated with the high school or me as a coach per se. So we're going to be talking about local sports. We're going to talk about state sports, and we're going to talk about national sports, and then we're also going to have a ending subject, our ending portion of the show called
What's Bugging Me?
What's Bugging Me?
What's Bugging Me?
Right.
So we can, have some opinions and some things that we want to get out there, because obviously we do watch a lot of sports, and I do a lot of things sports related. So we do have some opinions. We think they'll be worth a while. Maybe bring some people to want to watch us some more and see about opinions and what's going on all over the country and in the state, and of course locally as well. And also I think we're going to try to do some predictions as well.
Yeah,
like we've done in the past. Not necessarily just could be anything in particular. We may just put some knowledge out there and see if we have good crystal balls we can look at and figure out what's going on.
Absolutely.
So with that, Coach, we might as well get started right into our local segment of our podcast tonight. We a lot of things happening right now as far as local sports, and people are down doing a lot of golfing, but in particular, one thing happened about a week ago here in Venice, which is hopefully it's an annual thing, but there was the Champions Parade once again down Venice Avenue, where this year the state championship volleyball team, coached by Brian Wheatley, were able to celebrate their state championship, 2022 state championship, and then 2 swimmers from our swimming team also took home state championships. And so that's
nice.
Really cool.
It was a great day, great weather. I think you emceed it.
Yes.
And nice turnout from our local town here of Venice, and it was kind of bittersweet for me, for as far as being the coach of the football team, but it was a great turnout, and it's one thing that's neat about our community here is being able to have the parade, and it's kind of being like just a tight-knit community where everyone comes out and celebrates that as a one community. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, and you see right there, you had the layers of dignitaries, if you want to call it. You had the vice mayor there, school board people, the different politicians and whatnot, and everybody's really there. And it's interesting because from the perspective of what we have here in Venice, is that everybody that's involved, regardless of what level of participation you do, people really do celebrate when somebody has a major accomplishment like a state championship.
Yes, it's great to see, and you had the fire department with the kids on the big fire truck, which it's just a great sight, and a great celebration, and kind of a ending, kind of puts everything on the ending and ties a nice bow on it. Yeah,
no doubt. Like I said, and again, always well put together. After a while, you do them enough times, you kind of get good at it. Like the festivals and whatever we have during the springtime, that's turning into an annual event, which is really a testament to what's happening around this town. And obviously, Monte, you see a lot of that stuff as well. I mean, it's got to be something you kind of dig from your perspective as a dealership.
Absolutely, I love it. We love it. The dealership loves it. Mr. Douglas loves it. We have so much fun.
Did they use your cars?
Absolutely. Community
Okay.
events. I mean, we're in.
All right.
Anything we can do to help out, we're always going to be there.
And like I said, that's part of the thing we talk about, because everybody, once you hear that, everybody galvanizes, come together. So a uniqueness to what we have here, and you guys are a part of that too. That's really cool. So
appreciate it.
And again, over time, as we talk about different sports and locally, we're going to bring those coaches and those participants that we saw in the championship parade, the different dignitaries, kind of invite them to come by and talk to us as well about their perspective on stuff. Brian Whitley, especially, we know we know Brian pretty well, and Brian it will be a fun guest to have on the show. He'll have a lot of things to say, and again, giving his local perspective, but also a national perspective as well. So with that, we'll do is right here. We'll take our first break of the night. We'll come back here in a few minutes, and we'll talk a little further, get into our state segment, and talk about a few subject matters there. With that, we'll be back here at Douglas Jeep in a few minutes. And welcome back to the 941 Sports Zone, powered by Vibrant Aspect Media. John, we actually, get kind of having Monty here, you and I, obviously introducing ourselves a little bit there, but obviously we've done this before. We've talked about different things, and now this is our first opportunity to talk something a little bit outside of the realm of local sports.
Right.
We're getting into a little bit as far as the state is concerned. A couple subject matters that kind of things that are just kind of happening, cooking around the state. Right now, there's obviously baseball being played and different sports being played, but college football, it seems as though it's turning into a 12-month year sport like the NFL is, and spring practices have started actually about a month ago, and all the major schools, and we're seeing a lot of the little snippets and things are coming out. What do you see? What do you think comes out of these spring practices more than maybe in the past, where it was more like a get in shape kind of thing? Seems like they do a little tinkering.
Well, like we talked about, I think they're, like you said, I think they're spreading out their 15 days right now, using meeting time and probably doing a lot of install of their offense and just getting the players used to what they're going to be running in the fall. But I'm excited to see, one, you have Florida State, who's basically returning all their skill guys back, their
Absolutely.
quarterbacks, their receivers, their running backs, and everyone's talking about that. So that's going to be exciting to see how they progress and how they move forward with their offense. And then you got USF with a new coach who's coming from Tennessee, who's entrenched in running the tempo offense. So that's going to be exciting to see how they move forward with their offense. And a guy that's that's how he lives and dies, is on the tempo offense. And we'll see what he does with USF. And then Florida.
Big year for Florida.
I mean, I don't know. I know you're a big Florida fan. Well, first of all, what happened to the one quarterback that wanted $15 million? What happened to him?
I think that was an internal fight amongst some boosters where the collective, as they call it, didn't agree with a booster who had sort of maybe some promises to a kid and his parents.
Right. And
then when the time came to sort of facilitate that money, the collective was not about to do it. They said they would be setting a market that would be, at the time, or still at this time, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times more than any other player has been offered.
Where's he at, though?
He went to Arizona State.
What did he get there?
Nothing, is what I understand. And so that's sort of how it worked. There was an offer. He had actually projected to go to Miami all along, because Miami seemed to be on his top of his list. And then somehow or another, obviously a money issue.
So he went from supposedly getting. What was the number? I don't even know
the
number.
The number in Miami they talked about was somewhere in the low 7 figures, $3 million, $4 million, or something along those lines. But then rumor came out that Miami had upped the ante. It was a little bit of a bidding war for his services. And then all of a sudden this number of $13 million came out from
Florida.
From Florida. And I guess
he committed to Florida.
And he committed to Florida, and he was committed. I mean, he verbally committed. He was ready to go.
And then Florida came out and said, we're not giving you $13 million.
So the promise was somewhat broken by them, yes.
And then he went to Arizona State for nothing.
Well, what happened was that I think at that point there's sort of a safe face moment for the parent and the kid. Like, hey, if you didn't, you're lying to me. I'm not coming now. And they let him out of his letter of intent, which is, he signed his letter of intent, and so he never showed up at school. So he didn't report to school, and he only had so much time before he would have been ineligible or couldn't go to practice, whatever it would have been. And he just didn't show up, and they were saying, no, it's behind the scenes. They're saying that the money's not going to be available to him. They're not going to give it to him. And now he wants to go someplace else because, obviously, it's a business transaction. You're upset with something like that, and I don't blame them for leaving. But at that point in time, now you're sort of at the end game of the recruiting process. You're not going to be early entry guy.
I guess what I'm missing, though, so he was at Miami. He was going to Miami for $4 million, and he was going to Florida for $13 million.
Now he's going nowhere.
And now he's going to Arizona State for nothing.
Yeah. But I think what will happen in his particular case, he'll have the opportunity to prove himself and then get his money down the road. So
they need to start having Vegas lines for will this kid enter the portal?
Oh, listen, I can tell you that as we talk about different things as far as what can or like we talk about our prediction segment, we can predict anything at this point. I don't think there's anything that's beyond the Vegas
just
line.
Hearing that tells me like that kid's not going to be at Arizona State long.
I wouldn't, unless Arizona State comes and listen. I've heard that Arizona State is the one school out in the Pac-12 that is the sleeping giant. I heard rumors back not too long ago that, hey, Arizona State was hot to offer Urban Meyer an opportunity out there, and they thought he would have maybe gone because weather is great most of the time. The only thing he would have lacked would have been not maybe in that prime time
If you have
situation.
allergies, it's a great place to go.
Oh, listen, if you get any kind of,
Yeah.
you can,
I mean, if you struggle
if you don't
with
like
allergies,
humidity too,
right.
they got 1% humidity out there. But no, they were a sleeping giant. So supposedly they say they are. If that's the case, and maybe they said, hey, Jaden Rashada, come over here and we'll give you an opportunity.
That's his name?
Jaden Rashada. Yes.
Okay.
And if he's going to get a chance like anybody else would in spring to show his wares. And if he does well, I'm sure there's going to be a little NIL money going his way. So that's
and then
happen.
also you got Miami with all their, all the recruits that they were getting last year and this year, and I think I like the coach, their coach,
yeah,
Cristobal. So we'll see. He did a good job at Oregon,
and really was a head coach for FIU that didn't do very well, but went back and honed his craft, and he's a defensive minded guy. And so, he did real well. And out in Oregon, he took over the program and kept it on a winning path, and then back to his alma mater, which is, I guess everybody wants to coach their alma mater these days.
Right.
But
Cristobal's an O-line guy.
Is he? I thought he was a defensive guy.
He's an O-line. He's an O-line coach. He played O-line at Miami, and he's a big O-line guy.
Gotcha.
But there's a lot of expectations, obviously, at Miami. But I think they're going to start taking steps, especially if the guy keeps giving them money to. Well,
the one thing that came out and we'll talk a little bit in our national segment, but their big booster guy, whatever it was, they're basically saying that he bought Miami a Final Four because he went out there and got a superstar freshman point guard and some other players through the transfer portal and whatnot, and sort of helped build that team. He gave him the guys he needed in order for Jim Larranaga to win and get to the Final Four.
Well, how about FAU? Who bought that Final Four?
I don't think anybody did. I think it's one of those things that. So, with that being the case, you've got situations where you can build like some teams do, or you can buy like some teams are trying to do, and so they both can be successful. It's just a matter of how the chemistry of anything works out.
That was. I didn't. Be honest with you, I didn't even watch last night.
It didn't either.
It came on too late.
Just a little bit.
And it's almost like you already knew who was going to win the game. And but what was exciting was the Final Four with FAU and Miami in it.
And San Diego State, obviously, who went to the championship game, because I think watching the rest of the tournament, like I did, got the chance to watch Connecticut 3 or 4 times and watch them. They were a 4 seed, but clearly undervalued as a seed. I think their conference may have been something they didn't really give them a lot of credit for their conference. But early on in the year, there was some talk about them being one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country. And I don't know if if there was all ones instead of a 9, 2 5s, and a 4. If there were 3 1s and a 4, and Connecticut being the 4, I don't know if Connecticut still would have. What they would, I think they would have won. They were that good of a basketball team.
It was neat to see, FAU. Getting all the way there. That's the road they took to. That was, and they're winning the game the whole time. Final shot, buzzer beater.
No doubt.
That was a heck of a game. It's almost like they gave it away there at the end.
Go back to the football thing real quick. Ask me about Florida real fast. So Billy Napier's second year. It's going to be a huge, huge, huge year for him. Most coaches get 3-4 years with their contracts and chance to build their team.
Well,
and
he had a rough first year.
Well, that's the point, and there were some things that kind of it's. I don't know. Again,
he had a rough first year, not necessarily wins and losses, but rough first year, with decisions.
And looking at it from the perspective of I watched certain situations and said, hey, are you trying to set a tone here or win a football game? 4th and 8, and you run off tackle. Okay, with yourself still in the game, things like that. You had a quarterback who obviously was still raw, not a lot of games under his belt, but man, game 1 he's the Heisman Trophy winner, and he's going to be a number 1 draft pick in the draft, the number one draft pick, right? And then the next game he looks like he does not throw the ball anymore, and he's not running like he normally runs, and just seemed like, and some decisions were made in regard to field position decisions that were just odd. And you saw the same thing. It was like 1 week this, 1 week that, 1 week this, and it was just go back and forth where it looked good for a little while, then it looked terrible. Nothing against Vanderbilt, but you lose to Vanderbilt, and but you play Georgia tough for 3 quarters, or you win a game against that you shouldn't win in
beat Utah, right?
Beat Utah first game of the year. So that kind of thing, that inconsistency is kind of hard to figure out. And if he is going to kind of set a tone and have a certain way of playing the game, hopefully you start seeing that from game one. This is what we're doing. We're going to be big offensive line. We're going to play hard defense. Whatever it may be is great, but it's got to start showing itself this year. Because
Did they lose players?
Well, they obviously lost Richardson, the quarterback. He will be a number 1 draft
pick.
He
left for the draft. I'm saying that did they lose people to the portal?
They lost people to the portal. 23 kids transferred out of Florida.
Good players, starters?
Two starters that I know for sure on the offensive line definitely left. 2 guys that were going to be major players in their line that they went to. One went to USC. And I want to say one went to, I can't remember where he went up, but somewhere in the Midwest I think he went to. But lost those guys, and you thought, wow, that's kind of a bit of a shock. Some experienced players, with a year left to go, they kind of said, hey, I'm gonna take it somewhere else as well. So yeah, they lost some guys for sure. But again, it's if
did they pick anybody up?
Yes,
in the portal?
They've got a lot of guys in the portal. They got a guard who's supposedly the best guy in the portal kind of guy, like as far as offensive linemen are concerned. Some depth at wide receiver and at running back. Some depth definitely in the defensive line. They need defensive line help for sure. And so they did get some guys, and again, but it's like we talked about a little earlier. Is it plug and play and just success with that, or do you have to develop the chemistry to go along with that? Football is a little more chemistry driven than basketball, so it can be a lot of that being the problem.
Yeah, well, if you're doing plug and play, you gotta do it, and it's gotta be you gotta be way better than everybody.
Correct, and you can't be plugging and playing 7 out of the 11 guys on each side. It's got to be 1 or 2 where you can do that.
And you got to have. When you're doing that, you got to have war daddies everywhere.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And one other team I wanted to mention also, UCF, Gus Malzahn. I think from the minute they hired Gus Malzahn, I was like, that's the perfect guy for UCF. Obviously, circumstantially, he got a lot of money when he left Auburn. I mean, he probably didn't have to work, ever again. But he went right ahead and got his buyout, goes to UCF, and takes over for Josh Heupel, who was running a tempo offense. And Gus Malzahn was he ushered in a lot of that high tempo stuff. So he was ready to move right into that situation. All the players were there. Right. He needed and wanted. And UCF is now starting to, they're not just getting the guys that are sort of overlooked, so to speak.
Well, they got one recruit that we've seen on film. He might be one of the best players we've seen in a long time.
A D tackle, yeah. And I think that's going to be something that you're going to see. And I think they're going to be in the Big 12, which is it gives them a chance to be more showcased.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
this year.
This year. So Big 12 is coming up. So this is going to be a really interesting year for them as well. So
who's the closest school in the Big 12?
There's the West Virginia possibly, but I don't know anybody who's much closer.
Right.
But I think the move was both for UCF and for the conference. They had to make a move because they couldn't get swallowed up and have a 20-team SEC and a 20-team Big Ten, and then everybody else is shut out in so many ways. So they had to make sure they could
where were they at
themselves.
before?
They were in the AAC.
Right.
So they had the
American.
The American Conference.
Okay,
yeah. And they were with USF and Troy and Georgia Southern. I believe they were in, if I'm not mistaken. Now that's Sun Belt. But they're sort of in that Cincinnati. Yeah, Cincinnati was in their conference as well. So looking forward to it. And I guess we did talk about how this has been spread out a little bit over some time. So what I would imagine that this is, like I said, about a lot of install stuff. But I got to imagine too that you're trying to get, because you're getting a lot of portal guys and a lot of first-year guys to come in early, giving them an opportunity to be immersed in the process before they go on a long break before summer workout starts. So I mean you agree on that, right? You're saying that's why it's going a little longer.
They're spreading it out, and then what they'll do is on the days they're not practicing, they'll have meetings, and they'll have their lifts in there as well. So they're just using it, and a lot of high schools are doing this too. I mean, you got a lot of schools that are starting on some are starting on the 24th, and they're not playing their game until the 29th.
So you got a long way to go.
Yeah. So they're putting, they might practice 3 days a week and have 2 meetings in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good way to go. I don't necessarily like it for us. I like spring football for sure. and I think it does a lot of good things. It definitely helps you, find some people and let you know, especially your young kids, kids that are sophomores.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, you still want to get your summer program going. I think that's where a lot of growth happens as well. Because we're still in high school, there's still a lot of growth and development that takes place. So there's a lot of positives to it, a lot of negatives to it, I guess. There's some schools in college that are, putting their spring break in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works out. You come back after spring break.
You better be back on that Monday when you can be back there, because you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But
yeah, or you just don't have fun in spring break.
Or you have a lot of faith in the kids that you got out. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. So I'm sure there's probably some hand wringing when it comes to saying goodbye to them on spring break in there. See you back here in a week. One other thing I want to touch on statewide, baseball kicked off. Major League Baseball, Tampa Bay Rays, local team. Rays with a very low payroll, and they seem to always craft together a lineup.
They always have a low payroll, right?
Well, that's sort of their sort of Billy Ball, or what do you want to call it?
Them and the Florida Marlins, right?
Yeah.
Like they always they'll win one, or didn't the Marlins win a couple, and then they don't pay anybody?
Marlins did it. They took a different path, and I think that people they would go out there, get some guys together, then build it, win it, tear it apart, and because that's listen, there's something to it. They've won a couple. They won a couple of world championships, and you can if you really feel like you've got that core there, and you got the right 16, 17 guys, and you want to go out and blow a bunch of money on the other next 8 or 9 guys. More power to you. But again, it's short lived, because they obviously look. There is a financial starting point for them. Like, they can't go and be the New York Yankees at this point.
Well, how many people are going to the games too?
True. But I will say this, though. I think that you're starting to see this World Baseball Classic that just came up, played in Miami in particular. That sort of draws people. Hey, you know what? I went to the game because I wanted to see Venezuela play or Israel play or whatever you wanted to go see. And you're like, man, this stadium's pretty nice, and you might see them get that. That could help build their fan base a little bit, just that kind of situation.
It's just they just got to
cover.
Cover.
Yeah.
It's still got to be hot.
Oh, heck yeah! Just watching it was watching a little bit of it that I did, and the World Baseball Classic. It just looked hot inside there. I'm like, I
won't even go to a Bucks game if it's during the day. Like people invite me to Bucks. I'm like, no, thank you.
Well, we won't get into the Rays stadium situation, but there is something to be said about a domed stadium, no matter what it looks like.
I love the Rays stadium.
So a lot of people like the experience, but my goodness, to have that 72 degree weather, and you don't worry about some rainouts. And
no problem.
And
I have no problem going to a Rays game.
But with that, I was going to kind of just tip into something really quick, just kind of ask your opinion on this. So now there are some rule changes. There have been rule changes along the way. Last year they put in where they have in any extra inning scenario, they put a guy on second base, and you get that's how you start the inning, with the man on second base. This year they're trying to pick up the pace of baseball. There's been some 5-hour, 9-inning games and craziness that kind of really lends itself to making baseball boring or hard to watch.
I wish they would have done that when I was playing.
As far as the clock time?
Speed it up, yeah.
So 20 seconds or thereabouts, and then you get 20 seconds and between each pitch. I think the batter gets 2 timeouts. If I'm wrong, you can let me know. But I know they get a chance to step out. But the pace of play in spring training was picked up. Obviously you've already kind of said, but how do you feel about that? I think it's a novel idea that if you didn't try, you might have lost a fan base, a whole generation of fan base. But with 5-hour games.
I think it's great. Let's pick up that's one thing that I played as a kid and always played, and got into high school. It was just so old, and it was just boring.
Right.
It just got boring to me, so I just decided not to play anymore. But I think if you did something like that to pick up the pace of the game and to make it a little bit more exciting, I think you would have more fans, and you would have people playing a little bit longer too. Yeah,
and again, the other rule change from last year too was with the DH. Obviously, in the American League, over the years, the game slowed down there because you can make as many pitching changes as you want, and it didn't really affect your lineup.
Right.
There was no double switches anymore, things like that. And they were having a guy come in and pitch to one guy, throws one pitch, guy grounds out. Next pitcher's coming in and pitch to the right hand or left hand or whatever else it is. They've eliminated that. In the sense that when somebody comes in, he has to pitch to a certain amount of batters before he can be taken out of the game.
Maybe they need to eliminate the warm-up. Like if you bring in someone in, he needs to already be warmed up.
Well, that's the other part of it too. Is that there's a lot of timeouts, and they kind of extend guys getting warmed up by wasting time, so to speak.
Right.
Pitching coach goes out. He talks to the guy for 30 seconds about this, and then the catcher walks back, goes halfway, walks back, and says something else. Just buying a guy time. But yeah, I think with the changes to the actual game itself, and then with the Rays being a relatively, always exciting look. They've got this year. Their lineup as far as their hitting looks very good. Pitching has always been their forte. They have always have really good pitching staff. Cy Young winners that have been on the team over the years, and so I think they're going to find their way. It's just they got to bump their heads against those. It's not just two. There's three beasts in the East. You got Boston, New York, and Toronto.
Right.
Don't forget Toronto's they'll pay for players too. They've won championships as well.
Speaking of baseball, did you get a chance to go to any spring games down here?
I did not.
No,
I did not. Because it's just, like I said, I've been wanting to go, but obviously
we're like 2 miles from the Braves spring training.
Yeah, right here where we're at Douglas Jeep. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But my work kind of puts me right in the middle of the day, and it's kind of hard to buzz out just for a game like that. So, but I definitely need to get my discount under to see something, because I know that the Wallen Park area is kicking off and looking good down there. So a lot of interesting things happening down there around that stadium. It's gonna bring people to that area for sure. With that, that's kind of our state segment right there. With that, we'll take another break, come back and talk a little bit a few national things. We already touched on one subject matter. We want to go into the championship games for the Final Four, but we'll come back here to Douglas Jeep and take a quick break and be back here shortly. And welcome back to the 941 Sports Zone, powered by Vibrant Aspect Media, and our home here at Douglas Jeep in South Venice. We appreciate them having us as always, or as I say, we should say, hopefully continually being with us throughout the next years or weeks or months or whatever it turns into for us, for sure. John, we talked a little bit earlier. This is our national segment coming up now. We're talking about some national stuff. We talked a little bit about the Final Four before, and we talked about how good UConn was and what a story FAU was, and Miami in particular as well. So we both admitted we did not watch last night's national championship game. My first question to you in regards to this is it because of who played or when it was played, meaning Monday night at 9:15?
Well, I think a combination of both. If FAU was in it or Miami was in it, I think I would have watched. Being Monday night at 9:20.
Yeah,
I was already out. Like I'm out.
And you're right. If there was maybe a little bit more of a marquee matchup.
Why do you think they do that? They do it both for basketball and football. Like I don't get it. Like why not Saturday? Football is played on Saturday. The whole season. Then they're going to put the national championship on a Monday. So
I've thought about this a lot, and I'll start with basketball. I think the Final Four on a Saturday and having it in one spot makes it very hard to keep people around in regards to, hey, 4 teams come in, fan base come in, people buying tickets. They're going to buy the Final Four tickets, and they're going to stay around till Monday to watch the game. Gives the teams a chance to
play Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Well, there's that. The thing is this. So that's the dilemma. Can you change the Final Four Saturday to Final Four Friday? Okay, and you say, okay, it's Final Four Friday. We play the 2 games. It's Friday night. Again, does it interfere with the West Coast? I guess, but nobody's watching it on Monday night. The game it's hard. You got people in traffic out in Los Angeles trying to get home to watch the game last night, and I don't know if I'm breaking my neck to do that, right? Because it's UConn looked like they ended up looking, which was a double-digit winner, and it was a nice story with San Diego State, but it didn't have the same story that, let's say, FAU would have had if they would have been there, right?
Well, I think FAU also is entertaining to us because we're in Florida,
right? And it's kind of cool to see a team that's sort of like the size of FAU. You see them out there. It may be bigger than Miami. I don't know because I know Miami's private school and FAU is not. But still, it's an out of nowhere kind of scenario. And they had a great season and they just kept on. They weren't a fluke either. They were a darn good basketball team. They're really good. And so I would say that they getting to where they got to, yeah, I think it was a little bit more than to be expected.
Right.
But they're good. They're really good. They have some good players. They got some pros on that team for sure. As far as football is concerned, I have no excuse for it. It's asinine. It's stupid that they're doing a Monday night a football game.
Why?
It makes no sense. There's no reason for it. I mean,
wouldn't more people watch it on a Saturday?
Absolutely. 100%. Now, also, they say, well, the NFL. Okay. If it's the NFL that's the problem and you don't want to be on a Saturday or Sunday, put it on a darn Friday night. What's wrong with Friday? There's no interference. There's nothing else going on. It's Friday night. You have the national championship game. Simple. It's simple as can be.
Well, they're saying because there's playoff games on Saturday for the NFL.
Playoff games are on Saturday
Right.
and then Sunday. I understand that, but again, the idea would be, and I know that the networks aren't going to work with each other. ESPN's not going to, they're not going to be. They're trying to get a standalone scenario.
Right.
The build-up is a little bit more, I would say, but with a week to get ready, man, I don't know if I wouldn't do it on a Friday. And the weird part about it is this: so the FCS plays their game.
They play on Friday.
Yeah. Right, and that seems to be just fine. And I just think the idea would be that, again, if somebody told me the game was on at 9 o'clock, 9:15 on a Friday night game, I'm up. I'm watching it.
Right.
What am I doing tomorrow? I'm watching NFL games. I'll get up in the morning and watch that. I don't understand why, but I think it's the same asinine logic that they had forever to not having a playoff system, and now they do. And all of a sudden, it's genius. What a great idea. We've figured it out. It only took you all this time. There's got to be, whenever there's something that bad decisions are being made, money is involved in it. That's what it comes down to. It's a money thing.
Well, with the playoffs coming up in 2 years, maybe the championship will be on a Saturday.
Why not?
Because it's going to be around the same time as the Super Bowl.
Well, you think about this.
So when are they going to do the playoffs? Are they going to do the playoffs?
So the playoffs are going to be part of the bowl system.
But their playoffs are going to be during the playoff games.
Well, here's what I think is going to happen. I don't have it in front of me, but I think the structure is going to be championship games are the first weekend of December. And I think right the week after that, or maybe 1 week break, you start it, and you have the first round, second round, third round. But the idea is this. So let's just say you have the Saturday before the Super Bowl. Okay, now the Super Bowl is getting later and later in the year. But the idea of, let's say you could do it now, people will say,
because there's nothing going on. There's nothing, because there's a 2-week break between the Super Bowl.
That's the point.
That'd be perfect. They have the Pro Bowl there. No one watches the Pro Bowl.
Right. That's just a skills competition now. It's not even a game. It's two-hand touch. It's weird stuff like that. But you say, well, and then of course the academics will say, well, they can't miss any more school. They're at school. They're going to be at school. They're just practicing like they did during the regular season. So they're going to travel for a long weekend to go play. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think all those arguments about the finals and this and that they've made over the years, it was all BS. It was just a bunch of crap because all they wanted to do was make money, and they didn't want to upset the bowl people who were just giving them, Tostitos were giving them
They're
money.
not in school anyway during the bowls.
Exactly. But there was always like, well, they can't. If the playoffs start, then they could be missing their finals. They're not going to miss their finals. They're not going to miss their finals.
Right.
That was in a day and age when you had to stand there and somebody had to proctor you, watch your test. Now you can do it on a computer. You know what I mean? You go to a lab and take a test, and you find your grade out on a wall in the hallway, whatever you're at. So it's not the same thing. So yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever as far as that's concerned. Getting back to the NCAA championship, the Final Four, the day of the Final Four and the entirety of the NCAA championship, the whole March Madness thing, is almost perfection, except for that last game, because you've got the Thursday, Friday games. They do a fantastic job. I mean, you got TBS, True TV, all these different CBS.
No, yeah, you're right. It's a pretty cool.
And they're giving you this beautiful little crawl line. You can see who's winning and who's losing. And hey, I'm going to switch over to T, and it says.
Did anybody get a perfect?
No.
Nobody.
That was over when Fairleigh Dickinson.
But people usually do get. There are a few people that usually do get a 100%
listening to some pundits and some talk shows and whatnot. I heard that there's some people who definitely had the Final Four pegged. That they had the Final Four.
FAU and Miami.
FAU, Miami, San Diego State, and Connecticut. The people had it. I mean, enough brackets are out there that you could probably find one or two, but they weren't perfect to get there. They missed a lot, but they got
usually
to the Final
there
Four.
are a few perfect brackets.
Yeah, but I think it's 1 in 900 quadrillion to 1 or something like that. Something that you could actually get the whole thing right. But no, I mean to have the Final Four is pretty impressive, to say the least. And to figure out that, like I said, because the Fairleigh Dickinson thing was so odd because they weren't even the conference championship.
They're play-in, right?
They were a play-in game,
right.
And then they went. So that they weren't even favored to win the play-in game. So they were the underdog in that one. So it was huge what they did. So yeah, it's something that's. But again, March Madness. I don't know how you feel about it, from all aspects, from the excitement of it all. The betting side of it is fantastic. You're talking about. I mean, my goodness, if you like bowl season, how do you not love March Madness if you're a basketball guy? It's phenomenal.
I was in Vegas during it all, but I was in Vegas probably 10 years ago during March Madness, staying at where's the place that sets the lines?
Is it not Caesars?
No, it's way down on the end of the strip.
Oh yeah.
And they have a huge sports book. Mm-hmm. And I woke up in the morning. It's 9:00. Well, games have already started, and I'm like, what's going on? I mean, there's a line out of the casino going into the sports book. I'm like, what is going on here? Well, this is a huge sports book. I mean, it is huge, and then there's just a line for people going in to make their bets.
Right.
I mean, it was just fun to go listen to people when people are making a shot and the game didn't even matter. It was pretty neat.
I know, because that's part of it as well, because we are in the era of sports betting. I mean, it's everywhere now, you know, and so I mean, it's so much so that you have major networks that they're showing their shows and they've got the betting line on the side and the bottom, so you can know who's plus 9,000 for this or whatever it may be. Fantasy sports has done so much to sort of promote that as well.
We don't have it here though, right? We can't bet here.
Yeah, I mean, you can go and I'm pretty sure you can go and make a bet.
Florida you couldn't now, but you can now. I thought it stopped. I thought we could for a little bit, then it was some went to court.
Obviously you can go. I think you can go up to like Hard Rock.
Well, yeah, but you can't do it through whatever.
We'll have to ask. I mean, some people. I thought they sort of. That had been sort of taken care of. I'm not sure if that's the case though, but yeah, I mean, but even
I'll find out.
Yeah. Even so, it lends itself to a format like March Madness, where you can kind of get a hot hand with the team and you're following them up, and the spread looks good, and they're playing against somebody who's got a guy hurt, or so it's always there's a lot of things to kind of quick figure out.
FanDuel, I thought like FanDuel,
DraftKings, that kind of thing.
But I thought they didn't allow that in Florida.
Okay, that's one thing I'm not sure of. I know people.
I'll find out.
Yeah,
we'll let them know next week.
Yeah, no doubt. But again, Connecticut won. Congratulations to them. That's 5 national championships since '99 for them. They are, I mean, not counting some of the old school blue bloods like Kentucky and North Carolina and Kansas and all those guys. I mean, that's 5 in 23 years. That's significant. That might be the most in that period of time. So great job by them. And they've done it with 3 different coaches, which is another thing. And Jim Calhoun, they had Kevin Ollie come in there for a year or so, and he got himself one. And now Dan Hurley. And Dan Hurley's brother is Bobby Hurley. Remember Bobby Hurley from the Duke days?
Yes.
Yeah. So Bobby Hurley's brother Dan is the coach at UConn, and put together a really good basketball team. They were fun to watch. They definitely deserve the championship, to say the least. One more thing I'm going to get into nationally that I think has a lot of layers to it. Coming up this weekend is the Masters Golf Tournament. My perspective is that it's my I like it as my favorite golf major, just because it's just the mystique of the golf course, the mystique of the whole thing.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, it is one cool golf match to watch.
Yeah.
I did see some things. So you tell me, because you're a little bit more ingrained in golf.
Mm-hmm.
So Live Golf.
Yeah.
This is the only mix tournament?
No, all the majors, they'll be mixed. So there's 4 majors. It'll be it's Masters, then it'll be the PGA Championship, then the U.S. Open, then the Open Championship over in Scotland.
Because I saw Mickelson warming up or doing something, and I saw the people heckling him.
Yeah. He's getting the business
about the Saudi.
Yeah.
So
So what it is that all the majors. There was an issue where the PGA Tour said, okay, pick your poison. You're going to stay with us, or you're going to go over there, because you can't do both. And they were like, why can't we do both? Because they said, because we have a stipulation, being a part of our organization, that you cannot play in another competitive league when we have tournaments going on. Okay, so it's in the courts right now. There's a lot of things going back and forth. They want to be the live golf guys want to be. They want to have to get. So if we're going to be separate, we want to have
both. They want both.
Yeah, and they also want to be known as legitimately be able to get what's called world golf points. So the world golf rankings, and it's a criteria you have to meet, and they don't meet the criteria. They don't have a cut, and everybody makes it. It's 54 guys, and they all make it. They all get a check. And that's not the competitive way that it's set up. They only play 3 rounds, instead of 4. There's a few things that again, lots of little things. So they want to be thought of as equal to partner. They have said, we've got great players, and they do. They definitely went out and bought some of the best players in the world to go out there and play. But with that being the case, because they're not getting what's called getting the points towards world golf rankings, they're slipping down their world rankings. So if you're in the top 50, you're automatically in the Masters. If you've won the Masters, you automatically go.
Right.
If you're a major champion, you might automatically go. So even though they're not playing in a league that's sort of looked at as legit, so to speak, they still qualify based on the old criteria. So these majors are like, look, we can't go back on the rules we set because we're mad at them because they left us, or they left the fold. So that's why they can play. Now, next year, it might be a little less, because then some of the guys who didn't win before, or they're there on their world golf ranking, may not be there. But for the near future, couple years out, some guys are going to be around. The big contention is these guys are not playing what they consider competitive golf. The pressure, the golf courses, and everything else. So it's going to be interesting to see how they perform a year into their tenure, or almost a year into their tenure with LIV, if they perform at a high level at a major championship. It would be interesting to see how it works.
Yeah, that'll be true. That's true.
Now the other thing is that so that being the case, the guys that there are some guys right now on the PGA Tour that I don't know if it's motivation. I'm sure it is, but that LIV has gone away, and they want to show that the PGA is the best. But there's some guys that have been named guys that are really, really, really been playing well early on in the year. You got your Scotty Schefflers, you got your John Rahms, your Rory McIlroys, your Jordan Spieths, the guys that names that are very familiar, that are really stepping up and doing something. This is going to be very interesting to see how they perform, and wanting to perform in a manner that these LIV guys get it, so to speak. They're going to be. You get it. Hey, I want to show you something. And motivation is either it can kill you if you're not because golf's such a mental game.
Yeah.
It's a very mental game. So that's coming up, and we'll have to see how that all works out, because I think it's going to be a very, very, very interesting tournament. It's going to be a little cool. I heard some weather's coming through, so that always makes the golf course a little different. That golf course in particular, though. The drainage, and it's all state of the art. That golf course, it looks like it's the most pristine, beautiful flower lined golf course, but underneath it they got vacuums and you name it.
It looks great.
An unbelievable situation.
They pipe in the bird sounds and stuff like that, right?
There's so many things about it that I would call corny about the Masters. Obviously they're not called fans; they're called patrons. They have, they still serve sandwiches that are in the concession for like $3. But the idea of it's a very interesting situation. I've had friends go, and they say you get these little chairs that you can kind of set up, and you put it on a hole, and you can sit there and watch, on a little sort of little travel chair.
Right.
Let's say you go out in the morning and you put your chair on the 17th green, and you set it there, and you walk away. Nobody sits in it or touches it. They're they're that respectful to that chair. I went to go check something out on 13 or go to the bathroom. Nobody sits in your chair. You come right back to your spot, and it's like, that's your chair.
Probably not that way at the one in Arizona.
Waste management, my annual jaunt out to Arizona. No, there's no place to sit unless it's every man, woman, and child for
and if
themselves.
there's a chair there, someone's probably gonna sit in it.
He's gonna sit in it or lay in it or do something. Yeah, it's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be interesting, and this is the time of the year where, as we come out of the winter doldrums, Masters always kind of seems to kind of initiate spring, in my mind at least. Like football, like when football season starts in September-ish, that's fall.
I think spring was initiated last week and it was 90 degrees here.
Yeah, so you have us fortunate.
My high school
here.
football coach used to say, when spring's starting, when you see the heat coming off the smoke coming off the blacktop.
Hey, you know what's going to be someday? It's going to be the smoke coming off the artificial turf, because that stuff gets hot too. So no doubt about that. All right, with that, we're going to take another break. Come back and do hopefully our really interesting what's bugging me segment, where John and I get to kind of get to voice our opinions on some things, and
then we got some predictions
to make as well. So with that, we'll take a Jeep. I'll take a Jeep. We'll take a break here from Douglas Jeep and come back here shortly. See you soon. And welcome back to 941 Sports Zone. And Coach, I don't know if you want to go first.
We'll let you go first.
So this is our segment. We're calling What's Bugging Me. Basically an opportunity to kind of vent on whatever sports issue you may or may not have seen, either long or short term. We're just going
and then we're also looking for a pest control sponsor for this section.
Man, we'd love to have somebody, unbug us.
Yeah.
in some way or another. So yeah, it'd be fantastic. And by the way, this is not just my opinion without input from my partner over here, and vice versa. We obviously won't agree on what's bugging us, so maybe they'll bring a little.
What's bugging you?
So what's bugging me is what happened over the weekend. NCAA Women's Basketball Championship. And what's bugging me about it is how things sort of unfolded at the end of the game against Iowa and LSU. LSU dominantly beat Iowa in the championship. Did a great job. Awesome basketball team. Hall of Fame coach. I mean, everything, and it's a great story. I mean, they were 2 years ago. They were like the bottom of the SEC, and they come back and they are able to get to only have a 3-loss year and then do a really good job going through the tournament. And they beat a very, very, very good Iowa team with probably a generationally good basketball player in Caitlin Clark, who did some really spectacular things all year. But then in the last few games leading into the championship game, scored over 40 points, had a 40-point triple-double in the Elite Eight game, which is just ridiculous, unbelievable. But a little bit of what was sort of told about, or a little bit about her, while she doesn't look it, she's a very, very confident, trash-talking basketball player. She tells you what she's going to do, and she has this thing where she does the John Cena, no, you can't see me thing, and she does a few things that obviously if you were playing against her, might rub you the wrong way, that's. But again, it seems as though at every level of sports, trash talking is everywhere.
Right.
We see it in high school; it's part of the deal, and it leads to issues on occasion. We see it in college level, pro level. It's everywhere. A lot of times in any sport, there are rules about taunting. There are rules about certain things you can and can't do. You either get penalties or fouls or technical fouls or whatever it may be. Even in baseball, guy stares at a home run or flips a bat. What happens? It gets beaned the next time, or something happens.
Right.
So there's always those kind of things, those taunting things that happen. So part of the game, we understand that. Not a problem with that. But what I had a problem was with the LSU player, their best player, Angel Reese, took issue with Caitlin Clark doing her John Cena thing to one of the players in the Elite Eight. And then in the Final Four game that they played, the first game they played against South Carolina, she sort of dismissed. The Iowa's had a defensive game plan where they were going to let South Carolina shoot from the outside, go for it, because they didn't think they were good outside shooters. They were much more of an inside game, little closer to the basket kind of thing. And there's a shot of her sort of waving at the girl like, go ahead and shoot it. I'm not worried about it. Do whatever you got to do. I mean, that's kind of hard to watch. If you're that girl's sitting there like, she's letting me shoot this jump. I ain't got it. And she's sort of telling me she knows I ain't got it. With that, Angel Reese and I think a lot of the LSU players took umbrage to the idea that she would sort of be disrespectful to a player.
Right.
Now, not on their team, but it's players from other teams where she sort of, was holding her own more or less 40-point games and everything else. And really just kind of, not really knowing that they had a problem. But later, as the game went on, when LSU had the game in hand, Angel Reese did the "you can't see me" John Cena thing in front of, standing right next to Caitlin Clark. Didn't acknowledge it. Caitlin Clark didn't acknowledge it or whatever. But Angel Reese was not going to let it go. She was pointing to her finger, "I'm going to get a ring." And you could see she had an issue with what I guess Clark had done to other people in regards to her attitude. Now, this has become a hot button issue, and there's been a lot of different opinions as to why people would be a little upset with Angel Reese, because not only did she do it at the foul line, she kind of chased her around and wanted to make her see it. Like, she was going to let her know that she didn't like what she did. Okay.
Right.
Again, a lot of people have either come to her defense or have been extremely upset as to what she's done. I think part of the problem is a lot of people react to it immediately. So what I'm going to do what's bugging me is I'm going to make sure that I don't react to it the minute it happens. I've had a few days to think about it, and I still don't like what Angel Reese did to Caitlin Clark. Trash talking is everywhere, like I just said.
Right.
Heck, I played golf with my buddies on Saturday, and somebody's standing over a 10-footer, and we're like, it looks like the one you missed on the last hole. You're just doing stuff, right? But that's in the context of the game, okay? It's within the game, and it's in the flow of the game. I know people some of the NBA guys don't like when Steph Curry shoots a 90-foot jump shot and turns around, looks at their bench while it's going through the basket because he knows he made it, okay? It's cocky. It bothers some people. But it's in the context of the game, and if somebody's going to do something, they can stop them or talk crap to them, during the game. But when it's almost over and it's sort of, you've kind of got it won, I don't feel like that's an equal situation. I think if you're going to talk trash, when the first rebound you get, maybe in the second quarter you block a shot, give her the no, you can't see me, give her something then. But to wait that long and to be that sort of have that much anger, there's something more to it than just trash
Maybe
talk.
she was waiting all game. Maybe that was her plan.
Well, my point is that it's over. So to me, it's catamount to being in the handshake line at the high school football game, at the college basketball game, and then
it's over. If you're going to put yourself out there and you're going to do that, if you're going to do that, then you got to be able to be woman or man enough to be able to accept that you're going to get it done to you.
Well, again, and that's exactly right. And when asked about it, Caitlin Clark said, didn't even notice it. Whatever she said, and I'm sure she did, but didn't. Her reaction was, they won. They were the better team. I was looking to go see my team and console them or do whatever, whatever it was. Didn't have a problem with it.
That's what she should have said. That's what she should have said. Right.
Didn't have a problem with it. My problem is not that it goes to the fact that the reaction to the reaction. Okay, so people said, "Man, you didn't do it." That didn't seem like the proper way to handle it. Could have been a different way to handle it. But then there's the excuse of, well, it is my opinion and other people's opinion that I wouldn't have. I don't think that's the right way to do it. You do it in the context of what I would think is the proper part of the game. Caitlin Clark didn't run over to somebody after the game and
she didn't have a chance
talk junk to. Well, she could have talked junk to South Carolina.
But she might. But I mean, we're talking. She didn't have the opportunity to. So if maybe she would have if she beat LSU. Maybe she would have done the finger.
And you know what?
If
she did, guess what? I'd be saying the same thing about her right now. I would have said the same thing. So I guess my point is that if it's in the flow of the game, if it's part of what's going on, Michael Jordan was one of the best trash talkers. Larry Bird was the best trash talker. Okay. He'd tell you what he's going to do to you, and then you did it. You know what I mean? Nobody likes to get not only somebody tell you what they're going to do, then they do it to you. It's kind of hard to swallow. But I think in this case, a lot of the things, the reaction afterwards about saying that the attack on her for what she did had something that was motivated by other things and just the context of the game. I think that's not fair to that. I think in some ways you have to look at it and say, I look at it from that. Would I have walked away from the situation? Would I have had a problem with it? I would have had a problem with it more so the way she did it than if it was in the context of the game. It would have angered me as opposed to me saying, all right, you got me. It would have angered me if after that I just lost that somebody wanted to come and put it in my face, because that's really not the way. You lose a game, you win a game. To me, it's like you win a game, then you run over to the other team's fans and yell at them and tell them you stink, go home. To me, it smells the same way to me.
Yeah, I mean, I see that part, but no one saw or heard what was happening throughout the game.
No.
You know what I mean? So,
but if it was that way, John, I think that somebody would have said it. What was said was, no, it's the way I roll, and this is what I do. That was the context of it. Again, that's great. If that's the way you roll, that's great. But then don't feel when you get criticized for it. Then don't feel like
are they seniors?
No.
Well, great.
Caitlin Clark's a junior, and Angel Reese is a sophomore.
Hopefully they have a game next year.
One thing I will say about this, and there'll be more on this subject matter down the road. Both of them are going to make a ton of NIL money off this, though.
That was my next thing is either Caitlin Reese just got lucky or Caitlin Reese is pretty smart, because she is very well known now.
Yep.
And those videos are everywhere. But to me, if the other girl's going to go do that, she better be able to accept it.
Well, and I'm going to tell you this: if everybody's really smart, what they do, Iowa plays LSU when the beginning of the year.
No doubt. There's no doubt about it.
You figure out a way to get together and let that game happen, because
some tournament or something. I'm sure.
They always have those games in Madison Square Garden, whatever. So that's what's bugging me for this week, and we will do that every week to kind of bring a subject matter up that it's kind of on our minds, something we see sports related or something we think that's relevant to the day. And with that, we'll make our final segment right here, and that's going to be predictions. And I will go first this time. Predictions. I'm going to predict something, kind of a big prediction, but I'll pick one person after this. I think that the Masters is going to come down to 3 players, and it's the top 3 players in the world. It's Jon Rahm, Scottie Scheffler, and Rory McIlroy.
No Tiger Woods?
So, listen, I have a little pool that I'm in, and we get a wild card pick, and I get 2 wild card picks, and Tiger Woods is going to be one of my wild card picks because he played well at the end of the last tournament.
You can never count him out, right?
Not at that golf tournament.
Right.
Not at that golf tournament. He is when a guy knows
he needs one more, right?
He needs 2 more to break Jack's record.
2 more.
Yeah. So, but I will say this: Jon Rahm, Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. I think if you could put them in a bundle, I think one of those 3 for sure will win, because they've taken turns being number 1 in the world. They've both been hot at different times, but I will tell you the guy I think he is made to win a Masters is Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, I think, is my guy to pick here. He's played really well. He was hot early. I think that he has the full game. Scheffler does too. Don't get me wrong. Scheffler's good. Rory can be very hot and cold. But I think Rahm's the guy who can just put it into another gear, and he can pull away in this one.
All right, you heard it, Jon Rahm.
I'm picking Jon Rahm for the Masters, but if you want to pick, you want to box something or do whatever, you can go Rahm, Scheffler, or McIlroy. I think you're going to get one of those 3 as winners.
All right, well, I wore my shirt on purpose today.
Okay.
And we're going to go preseason odds, Alabama national champions football.
Okay.
Pick it now.
Who's their quarterback?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Look at the history.
True. No, I mean
look at the history.
I think honestly it's going to come down to Alabama and Georgia top 2. I would think. I'm trying to think anybody else who would even tip the scales or push those guys out of the way.
Ohio State.
They lost their quararback too.
I know, but they're one of the recruiting giants, so I would say. So they probably just reload just like those other guys.
Yeah, no, you're right, because they've got it set up. They're
a recruiting giant, so they're always in the mix for the big names.
What about Michigan?
No,
you don't think so? I mean, they're
going to have a relapse.
They got the back coming back. They got the quarterback coming back. They got Jim Harbaugh though as a head coach. He's iffy.
8-5.
Okay, I like that.
8-5.
He played around with the NFL a little bit too. He was looking for.
Yeah.
He did some stuff. So that's always seems to be his MO. All right. Well, with that, John, this is it. This is our new thing. So I like it. Looks like we're kind of off to a good start. We'll get the flow down a little better the next few times. We'll get a lineup of guests. That's one thing we didn't really talk about too much, but we are definitely going to be guest heavy as much as we can, at least once a week if we can. So somebody's going to bring a little something extra to the table, and also as well, you and I also do a lot of other things besides doing our podcast. So there'll be other faces sitting in our spots on certain situations. We have some very competent, very qualified people who are going to come in here and be able to take your spot or my spot and be able to keep 941 Sports Zone going. As long as we don't lose Francis and Josh to get us on the air and film properly, and that's of course. Francis and Josh are a Vibrant Aspect Media guy, and they are the guys who are putting us all together for us, and we do appreciate them making us look good and sound good, and it kind of makes it fun to do when we're sitting on a set,
right,
with a giant sloth.
That's sloth
behind us, and they do a great job, and they help us out in other areas as well. So thanks to them. With that, thank you, John. Thank you, Vibrant Aspect Media, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you here next time on 941 Sports Zone. Have a good night.